Hey guys, how's it going? Alex Scott here with Consordini.com. Got another gear review for you guys to check out today. I'm taking a look at the Akai Tomcat drum machine. Now, we have a video on the kind of brother to this drum machine, or I'm not sure what you would call it exactly, but the brother to it, the Akai Rhythm Wolf, and they are very, very similar. So I'm going to be covering some of the same points that I covered in that video, because there is a lot of crossover between the two units. But they definitely both sound a little bit different, and they both have their own appeals and kind of unique quirks to them. So in a minute, we're going to move the camera over. I've got it sitting here on my rack of drum machines just behind me, and we will take a listen to some of the sounds that it has on board. But, you know, again, much like the Akai Rhythm Wolf, it's a really unique and strange sounding drum machine in a way that I really, really like. When Akai made these two units, they really weren't going to replicate or clone or anything, any classic drum machines. It's not supposed to sound like an 808 or a 909 or anything like that. It's really their own unique flair. And because these drum machines were marketed at a much lower price point, I think they're around 150 or 200 bucks brand new, they're not exactly the most feature rich. It really just has some basic sounds, a kick, a snare, a clap, open and closed hi-hats, and then a disco tom sound. And they are not, again, they're not your typical drum machine sounds. They're a little bit weirder, just generally stranger. They're kind of nasty, they're kind of funky. So much like what I said in the Rhythm Wolf video, if you're looking for a primary drum machine to be your kind of one end-all, be-all, oh, I'm going to make all my beats with this and I can get all these sounds out of it, it's probably not your best option for that. However, if you are looking to have some really unique flavors and textures in terms of being able to, if you do a lot of layering, like when I'm producing drums and beats and stuff, I love to layer things in, and it's amazing at that. To get a really unique snare sound that doesn't really sound like anything else, but it's 100% analog and has some really nice depth to it. And again, you just want to bring that extra layer in and have it be a part of your snare sample. It's perfect for that kind of stuff. If you want an interesting percussion layer running alongside your main beat, it's going to be perfect for something like that. It does also have a really cool built-in distortion feature that I'll be showing you guys that really makes things even grimier and even grittier. So if you're a fan of like Nine Inch Nails or LCD Sound System, some of these guys who go for a little bit crunchier or more aggressive drum sounds, you can definitely get into that territory with the Tomcat as well. So let's go ahead and move the camera over and get plugged into the system and take a listen to how the Akai Tomcat sounds. Okay guys, here we have our Akai Tom Cat. This thing is just a bundle of fun. So talk about the features real quick. It's, again, very, very similar to the Rhythm Wolf, laid out pretty much exactly the same way. I think they basically just used the same chassis for both, even when it comes to the synthesizer. On the Rhythm Wolf, here we have a disco tom sound with a bunch of options, but we've got kick, your kind of typical kick drum. For that, we have decay, pitch, envelope, and tune, snare drum. We have a clap sound, open and closed hi-hats, which again are controlled by the same decay, just like on the Rhythm Wolf, one of my gripes on this machine. And then this disco tom sound, which actually, to me, is a better sounding kick drum than the kick drum. And those are actually, you can make some really nice tones if you layer those two together. And then we've got the same basic step sequencer functions, A and B sequence variation, 3 different velocities, which you can adjust here as you input your stuff, play and stop here. And then we can USB sync it. We can control the subdivision. Again, very basic, all around general drum machine features. So now the kick drum, when you pull the decay out, a lot like on the Rhythm Wolf, very 808-y, very, very subby. However, we have this pitch envelope, so you can get like a sub sweep. And based on the velocity, it'll actually change the starting frequency of that pitch sweep. So if you like, and you can pull back the decay Like, it's just silly that you can use a kick drum oscillator to get that kind of a sound. But that's why I love this thing. It's unexpected, it's weird, it's different, and it gives you all kinds of really creative options for layering. But if you like real acidy German techno kicks, you can get that envelope kick, pitch envelope kick kind of a sound. Now, moving on to the snare drum, it's a very snappy kind of a snare drum. And the tune kind of changes the sound of the snap itself, but this is another one, just like on the Rhythm Wolf, where if you pull the decay out, and we do have a filter here as well, you can just get like a white noise kind of a thing going on. And this is where, you know, again, one of the things that I really, really love about this drum machine, if we start making a little bit of a pattern here, maybe like this, you'll see what I'm doing here in a second. I'm basically just using different velocities to create a pattern of varying volumes. To create just like a white noise sequence. And that could be a really, really cool layer behind like a normal quote unquote beat, right? It's a different way of thinking about how we would use a drum machine. So that's the snare drum sound. The clap on this, I actually do like quite a bit. Variable spread, which just kind of controls the number of times it's activating the little sound. A tune knob, which is more like a dark or bright knob. And then decay. And again, you pull the decay out on both of these, and you could get some really, really interesting stuff going on. But we'll mess around with patterns here in just a second. Hi-hats are a little more fuzzy than they are on the Rhythm Wolf. And again, controlled by the same decay knob, and they're not really all that different. But I like them about there. So we could very easily, you know, maybe start with that as a hi-hat pattern. We'll get to making a pattern in a second. And then this disco tom, you have a pew option and a whoop option, which basically just changes the direction that the pitch envelope is going. You have attack for the pitch envelope, tune like, so whoop, that you can hear it's sliding into the pitch there. Whereas pew, it goes the other direction. So, you know, who knows? You might find some use for it. I don't really use it, other than it does make a really great secondary layer for the kick drum. So again, let's make a little bit of a pattern here. So again, we're not even using the snare as an actual snare drum. And there you go. That's a very cool pattern that you could very easily use something like the drum brute here to its left. That's your main groove, and then this is just a secondary layer hanging out in the background. That's really what this drum machine is for, okay? And then lastly, we do have the maul knob, which is exactly like the howl knob on the Rhythm Wolf. Which, here, we can clear all of this here, and you can hear, maybe do something a little bit more typical. it's just a massive amount of distortion. Here it is without and with. So it can just give you an extra layer of grit. If it's already not distorted and funky and weird enough for you, you can always bring in that mall knob. And I just love that it's called mall. And I'll have clients in, and, you know, whatever, the jokes get made about how many knobs and buttons there are in my studio. And I say, well, my favorite knob is the mall knob because it lets you get mauled by a mountain cat. So that is a fun novelty. But yeah, overall, it's just, it's weird, it's funky, it's fun. Yeah, you know, definitely a different kind of drum machine. Okay, guys, so there you go. Akai Tomcat. It's funky, right? It definitely is not your average bear when it comes to, or your average cat, I suppose, when it comes to drum machines. But I just love it. I love gear that is compact and inexpensive and just has its own thing going on. You know, it's 100% analog, so you get that real, you know, kind of real instrument depth and vibe to it. And then it's got this distortion circuit that just makes things go crazy. It's called Mall, and I just love that, the idea of making a beat and then go, yeah, just attack the beat with a, you know, with a mountain lion. I love the idea of it, and I use it as layering in sounds all the time. I mean, it can do some really cool things if you pair it with, like, you know, an 808 kick sounds great, for instance. But if you want to just give it a bit of a different vibe or something, you can layer in the Tomcat kick and really get some interesting sounds going on that way. You know, because you can really tweak the parameters in some crazy ways. Run a filter on it, put a high-pass filter on it, and you make it a really interesting, unique percussion layer. I do that kind of stuff all the time as well. It's just a cool, fun little box to have around the studio, and because they retailed for pretty cheap when they were new, you can get them even cheaper in the secondhand market. I mean, I've seen them even dip below $100 before at, like, Music Go Round or something like that. So if you see one at that cheap price and you've got a little bit of cash to spare, I definitely recommend checking one out. You know, they're a hoot. I know a lot of guys who don't like them, and there's other reviewers online who really don't care for them. But all those reviews that I've read and people that I've talked to who are like, oh, thumbs down Tomcat, they usually are like, well, it's not, you know, I make a beat and it sounds weird. And it's like, well, yeah, you know, if you're doing just a trap tune, you're not going to make it your main drum machine. It's not really going to work for that. But when you look at it more as like an effects or a secondary sound or something to use when layering or something to just get really interesting and kind of crazy with, it's really, you know, there are a few better drum machines I can think of that do that, especially at the affordable price at which you can get them. But what do you guys think? Have you heard the Tomcat? Have you used it? Do you like Akai stuff in general? We'd love to hear your thoughts and comments in the comments down below the video. We love, you know, going back and forth with you guys and hearing what you guys think. So definitely take a peek down there if you'd like. And again, my name is Alex Scott with Consordini.com. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.